What's going on, people? We keep this one as short as possible. All right. We ain't gonna do the camera thing right now. We're gonna save that for later. This one is called Matriarchal Black Culture versus Black Male Autonomy. Okay. I'm gonna give you guys a couple seconds to climb in here. What's going on? So I don't know how many people in here, but I'm gonna move forward, right? So recently there's this picture, right, that everybody's been, going ham about on social media. And it features a little black boy playing with a kitchen set, right? So I'm gonna pull that picture up so that people can see it. And it's this picture right here. Right? So I'm getting, or we're getting feedback and pushback from both sides of the table. You got women, you got men, seeing this picture of this young boy playing with a kitchen set. It looks like he's at the stove and he has pot on the stove and he's cooking something. And you look at him, he's a boy, he's a black boy at that. And you look at the kitchen set itself, and when I look at the kitchen set, I don't see anything about the play kitchen that would imply a gender. It's black and gray. And I'm sure you can see it. It's in the picture. I'm gonna leave this picture up for a while I speak on this. So, even, a couple of the guys that I normally speak to on these issues when it comes to trying to feminize boys and things of that nature, they were at odds with this photo here. They were at odds with, a little black boy playing with a play kitchen, right? So, I mean, I don't know what you expect my side of this to be. So I'll tell you, I have no problems with this photo. Zero. And I might get a few people, you know, especially black gentlemen, to disagree with me, but as it is, as always, I keep it 100. So you can disagree with me, and that's fine. I have no problems with this. Okay. I got a few guys comparing this to maybe you know, cross dressing your son and all of this other nonsense, right? Nah, that's not what this is. You can't compare this to that, right? Especially in a day and time where, we're encouraging women to abandon their roles in the house, abandon, you know, uh, cooking and doing whatever it is that their gender role or assigned gender role in society is supposed to contribute to men, right? So now you got a kid, he's been given a play set, a kitchen play set. There's no pink in it, it's nothing frilly. It doesn't give me an idea that, this is a Barbie kitchen or anything like that, right? The problem that I got with the problem that they have is, in the black community, we have empowered women to death, giving them higher education. We're pushing them to not need men, right? And that's cool, because that's what, these women learn in white feminism. And white feminism is always right. Let's teach our women to not need men. I'm strong, independent. I don't need no man, etc., etc., etc. So here it is, a black boy, possibly at a young age, learning home economics, learning his way around the kitchen, right? Learning maybe to feed himself, to remove the gender stigma that comes with walking into the kitchen and fixing your own meal. Stuff is basic survival, right? I don't know about you guys, but I know a lot of grown men that can't do what this kid is doing in this photo, right? It's not a girl's toy. A kitchen is not a girl's toy, especially when most chefs are men. The best chefs in the world are men, right? Cooking is largely a male thing when you're talking about livelihood. All right. What we're adopting by having an issue with this is we're basically saying we can teach our girls how to get money and survive without men, but we can't teach our boys or get our boys comfortable with the idea that at some point in his life he might have to feed himself. It's not realistic to say, oh, this is for girls. So one of my people says, well, why not just teach him how to cook? A child this age at this that standing in front of this thing, right? I would not be teaching him how to use a real stove. It burn your house down. You don't want him to get too comfortable with real stoves, right? You start going in there and decide, hey man, cook my own breakfast at 4 years old, right? This isn't a boy playing with dolls. This isn't a boy, learning to do women's stuff. Cooking is not a woman's thing. Just if we're going to remove gender roles and emancipate women, so they don't have to live under the thumb of men, right? Live under the thumb of men. And Shane, I'm gonna bring you in here. If we're not choosing to live under the thumb of men, I mean, choosing to have women not live under the thumb of men, then why would we handicap our boys to the point where they need women in the same capacities, right? We're handicapping, or we're open to the idea of handicapping our boys. We got men who can't cook that are eating out every day of the week and dying of high blood pressure because they can't do what this little kid is doing in this photo. They can't do it, right? So again, we push, you know, female independence, female autonomy all day. But as soon as you get a young boy who, this ain't him wearing a wig, he's not wearing a dress, anything of that nature, right? I think that people are offended at the idea that, hey, this man might be a what they call it, a strong, independent black male. He don't need no woman, right? Because this is stuff that mommy's supposed to do, right? Now I know listen. I know I'm a get a lot of pushback on this one, maybe from some people. So Shane, Shane, before you start, right, I'm gonna pull up your comments. Okay, so here's a question: if men never chose to teach women anything at all, would women have the wherewithal to pick up on understanding in their own right at all? Right. So then you say, if men, oh, okay, you corrected your comment, right? So you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna let me know when you're ready. because I want your views on this, man. I'm gonna say straight out, I don't have an issue with it. I'm somebody that grew up in a house with an older sister, and my mother, and when I hit 12, 13, I was cooking my own breakfast. I was cooking my own breakfast on the weekend. I grew familiar with the kitchen very early. I don't know if it was because my mother was trying to prepare me, or it was more so because she was sick of cooking shit for me, right? On Saturday, I go with option number two. It got to a point where my mother said, because she used to cook us these big breakfasts on Saturdays, right? And we got to the age where she was like, one day we woke up and we didn't see any breakfast. He said, y'all big now, 12, 13. Y'all are big now. Cook your own shit. Right. So I'm like, okay, all right. Now we got to figure this out. Cook your own shit. We got to eat. So I had to cook my own shit. I had to figure out how to make this French toast, how to make these pancakes, how to make this bacon or sausage or grits or whatever we were going to eat that morning. And if anybody knows me well, they know that to this day, my breakfast game is serious. My breakfast game is serious. Okay. Anybody who knows me for a good amount of time and they've been around, especially my boy Ty, he used to throw these parties where it were like breakfast parties. It was, I would come in and I would do the pancakes, and someone else would do, another dish and things like that. I've worked in restaurants where I did the breakfast. I did the biscuits. So I know how to make biscuits from nothing, from flour. I know how to make biscuits from nothing. Not that canned shit you pop open. I know how to make biscuits from nothing. All right. So, working in various restaurants with chefs. I worked under chefs. So people don't know this about me, right? So when I see this picture and people are like, they're trying to feminize it. Fuck you. Because then you're insulting me, right? This is something that I've been doing for a very long time. It's not something, that I wanted to grow up and be, but it's something that I've been doing. A friend of mine, he wanted to be a chef. Cooks very, 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 very skilled to cook, and he has these big pots and things like that. I got a friend in Vegas, shout out to Kev Stagger, chef, right? My man in Long Island, my man Kwame, this dude bought a whole double like stove. Like these guys cook, they burn. You understand what I'm saying? There's nothing feminine about knowing your way around the kitchen so that you don't eat yourself to death because there's no woman to cook for you. The other problem that I have with people that got a problem with this, because I've seen some women complaining about it, and guys are talking about, oh, this is feminine, right? Some of these guys are this. I'm sorry.
You know what's funny about this whole notion about cooking being feminine is the irony of how women are offended when you ask them to cook something.
That's it, bro. That's exactly where I was going. How can you tell men, and this is what I posted on Facebook, how can you tell men that they're feminine for cooking and then call them a oppressive patriarch when they ask you to cook something? There's videos online all over YouTube and all over Facebook, and posts on Facebook where women are saying, I ain't cooking for no nigga. I ain't cooking for no man. So who's supposed to do it? What is single men, right? With all this, I'm independent. I don't need no man going around, and everybody's looking for high value men. High value men can hire people to cook for them, right? What about average men? Average men who are single, what do they eat? Stovetop, what do they call it? TV dinners with 12,000 milligrams of salt in it. And this is why we got men dying at 50, dying at 45, dying at 40, right? Because is gay to cook. Go ahead, bro. I'm listening to you, bro.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll take it a step further past cooking. I'll just say, like align with my comment earlier. Just when it comes to anything, if men didn't teach anything, and women were just supposed to just like look and observe. Could they even do that? Because I found that the the ability to gain knowledge through observation is predominantly a male skill. You know what I mean? That's what drives competition and innovation. A man can look at what another man is doing and say, I could do that and I can do it better without no tutelage. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be cooking, engineering, anything in STEM fields, you name it. Um, Men have always had the innate wisdom to be able to create and generate just on their own strength, their own wherewithal, and their own wisdom. But women has always had to be under some sort of direction and guidance to do the exact same things. So
See,
I find it funny that
mhm.
if women like to shame things that men do in whatever capacity, whether it be deemed masculine or feminine, I find it really silly because um, they predominantly can't really do anything without first being taught it. They don't have it naturally in them to just wake up and say, oh, I'm going to do this thing and it's going to be great and people are going to marvel and also learn from me to do it, and it's something that I innately generated. I've yet to see yet that come from the other sex, I'll just say.
Now, I'll say this: I personally won't go that far. What I'll say this. What I'll say is this: I think what people can learn is basically about inclination, right?
Mm,
So you have women who maybe years ago they were inclined to learn something, but let's be honest, you know, there was a time in this country where inclination and what you were allowed to learn is two different things. It's like saying during the slave days where black people weren't inclined to learn to read or something
hmm
when they weren't necessarily given the opportunity or the liberty to do so, right?
hmm
um I think a lot of the areas that women tend to stray away from has more to do with a lack of inclination than necessarily a lack of ability to learn these things, right? Because let's be honest, right? There's a whole bunch of things, right, that in the days where women couldn't do stuff, right? If you look at today, you still see a lot of areas where women are not present, not because they can't be, because they don't want to be, right? Now, as far as inventions and things of that nature, you have somewhat of a point, right? A lot of innovations and things like that that we've come to be familiar with come through men, and it's not because men are preventing women from innovating. And I'm not saying women don't innovate, they just don't tend to,
Right.
right? Because men for the most part seek to make society more comfortable, life more easier, for people and things like that. And women tend to be the beneficiaries of that more
Mhm.
so than the creators of it, right?
Yeah. Now, yeah. I
Um,
mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that women are not capable of things. They certainly are. All I'm saying is like it's just that they aren't the originator of a lot of the things that's out there.
the funny thing is that men innovate to make women's lives easier,
Mm,
and women respond to that with "I don't need you," right?
hmm
And as we move on into let me get rid of that. As we move on into the future with this new these new social norms, because understand, as as things get easier in society, and one sex is basically saying, or one gender is basically saying, well, now that I don't need you for these things, because to be honest, you've innovated yourself out of the game, right? You've innovated yourself out of the game. You've created all of these things, not just to make yourself obsolete to a degree, but the things that I would have had to do to be valuable to you, I no longer have to do, or I no longer have to do as a transaction for you to do the things that you've innovated yourself obsolete from, right? Um at this point, if women have absolved their role, we have to pick up for ourselves where they refuse to. If you can't have a woman in a domestic capacity, right? It's like women say, well, when they're single, they'll pay their own bills, and when they're in a relationship, the dude has to assume the role, right? Well, if you're gonna carry that attitude or that energy for women, you got to carry it for men. Men have to be able to facilitate their own domestic roles when women are absent, right? So
Mhm.
it's like, if I was raised not to need a man, so that means in the absence of a man you can be self-sufficient, you can pay your own bills, you can get your own this and get your own car and this, that, and the other. You got to have that energy for boys too, because then you're empowering one side and you're handicapping the other. So yeah, boys need to learn how to work their way around the kitchen, or mop floors, or be able to keep their places clean. You know how to eat. In house, so they don't have to kill their health going out and buying fast food and Uber Eats and all this other shit, right? So I'm trying to understand, and because this isn't just women that was tripping; it was men too. You know, shout out to, and I'm gonna call you out. Shout out to the Bit of Truth show. Masante Bay had a huge problem with this, and me and him will discuss it at some point. He likens this to what Wade is doing to his son, or Charlize is doing to her son.
That's a
Right?
reach.
Yeah, it's
I
a
mean,
sister.
knowing how to cook is the equivalent of taking estrogen shots and wanting to chop off your junk.
Yeah, that's an extreme reach. You know, so his response to it is, well, why not teach boys STEM fields? I'm like, you got to start here though. You
I
can
mean,
get. Hmm.
people are they're forming these short-sighted opinions based on the framework of society, and I think that's where people kind of get jacked up, because if you think about it, if you take something like society out of the equation and you can't cook, how do you live? That's one of like the primary um aspects of the hierarchy of needs. You need to eat. You just have to.
So, like a friend of mine, right? For
Mhm.
for for over 20 years, maybe close to 30, right? He's a registered nurse. He is a RN.
Mhm.
And you tend to think, when you hear RN, you tend to think, a woman, a female.
Right. Mhm.
He's been a RN. I don't know how many years now, man. He became an RN early, like straight out of school, getting good money as an RN,
That's pretty good.
right? You
Mhm.
know, for us to, put gender on jobs, right? This is what the females fought against. It's like going back to Space Invaders, like the video that I made some time ago. It's cool for women to get men's money and to become free from needing men for their survival, but it's not cool for men to do the same. And
Oh
these
yeah. As
guys,
soon as you suggest that women are not necessary, people get in an uproar.
yeah, yeah, yeah. because we don't need men. No, well, women are not necessary. You don't need us, right? The thing is, I expect women to get an uproar. My issue is with the men who are against stuff like this, because you're cutting your nose to spite your face.
Yeah, I
And
mean, you're aware of medical technology like the artificial womb, right? How much money and research has been going into that.
oh no, I'm not.
You never heard of that? That's been something that's been talked about for probably the past, I want to say, 8 years. So, I mean, if that is something that actually, I mean, there's a lot of ethical implications that's on the table concerning that. But if that was something to become a real viable option, the whole not needing women thing would be a real thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. Maybe not for reproduction. You know what I mean? But uh, there's more than one reason we need women, and there's more than one reason women need men. Right? We like to tie it down to either reproduction or income.
Hmm.
Right? Women make money, but they still need us. So that means you needed us for more than one purpose outside of money.
Hmm.
Right? Um, I'd like to think that we need women for more than just uh the survival of the species, right? I'd like to think that.
Hmm.
Is the only thing is, when I ask, nobody could give me a good answer. I mean, other than uh uh you know intangibles, right?
Yeah, I
And
mean, if you just seriously ask that question, like outside of reproduction, what is it that we absolutely positively need women for? It's it's a harder question to answer than the other side of that question.
just so everybody's understanding, reproduction includes sex. So like somebody say, "Oh, we need them for sex." Well,
Mhm.
sex is included in that, and
Well, yeah,
you know,
yeah. I'm not looking at it for like for a frivolous, anglers things because people will throw that out there. But
yeah, but you
I'm
don't
talking
die
about
without
needs,
sex.
not like desires. I'm talking about need. Like,
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. That's why I didn't say it before, but need, yeah, need is a strong word. Need means without this, it's done. Right?
right.
Right? Is a very need is a very extreme word, right? You need oxygen, you need water, right? To some extent, you need sunlight. It's good
Hmm.
to have. I mean, you won't die without sunlight, but it's good to get sunlight, right? But need meaning you can't live without,
Right.
right? And there's an argument that actually says, women do need men, because all of these things that they're saying why they don't need men would not exist without them and would not be maintained. This these cities, this society that we live in without men would be um you know the
It would be
ruins of
a
Rome.
waste.
It would turn into Planet of the Apes, or any like apocalyptic scene that you want to look at, because yeah, some years would pass and then things will start to rust and the bolts will start to come apart and things of that nature. But what I'm saying is, listen, this is not an argument for me saying men and women don't need each other.
Hmm.
This is more about saying, okay, at some point in okay, so it's at some point in men's lives and women's lives, they will not be in a relationship. At some point in a woman's life, she'll be single. So we teach her how to get by being single. And I think that there's not a similar effort being made to put men and boys in a situation where they can take care of themselves if they're not in a relationship. I know boys that I grew up with. They grew up into men who cannot exist outside of a relationship. So we're not teaching our boys not to need women, right? We're teaching them, or not to want women, I should say, right? We're teaching them not to. to be dependent on women. So that's why the video is called Matriarchal Black Culture versus Black Male Autonomy, because even the most, red pill of dudes, some of them that I've come across, right? They look at this and they have a problem with it, and they think they know why they do, but they really don't, because indoctrination is deep.
Mm.
We all grew up in this matriarchal, culture that says something like this is bad, right? So, let me show you something that I've come across, right? I'm gonna share the screen. Just before I jumped on here, I just wanted to pull up some things that I wanted to see. Okay, so here you got this what does it say? It's a kitchen, best chef's kitchen set, right? And I'm gonna blow this up if I can, right?
Mm.
So let me scroll up. So hopefully you can see that, right? So this is what appears to be two boys playing with it's a kitchen set.
Yeah, looking at it, it could be taken in some subjective ways, but I think those are opinions that people would purposely project onto this image. I mean, looking at it objectively, I see it as two boys playing with a toy, maybe designed for boys because it doesn't have like the color scheme of what a girl's kitchen set would have.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, they may want to grow up to cook stuff. Just like we were talking about earlier. But if it had like a pink and purple color scheme, then people would really push for, okay, what it is they got these two little boys playing house. You know what I mean? Um, it could be looked at a whole bunch of different ways, but
Yeah, I'm sure, because it's two little boys. So I
right.
totally get it. I
But looking
totally
at
get it.
it objectively, they're just children. You know what I mean? That's
See,
that's how I see it. They're just children
I,
playing with toys.
I see it the same way. This is the thing, though. Regardless of the number of ways this could be looked at, it could be looked at as it's the agenda, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's possible, right? But I'll say again, if we're going to be progressive, right? Because everybody wants to pretend to be progressive. If we're going to be progressive, you can't be progressive for one side.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be progressive for your side. For the women who have problems with this, if you're going to have an issue with boys, with kitchen toys,
Mm-hmm.
then get your girl some kitchen toys and tell them explicitly that you got to learn how to cook, because a man is going to need you to cook. Because if you're going to say, well, this is girl stuff, and you're going to keep boys away from it and give it
Mm-hmm.
to girls, then somebody has to fill the role.
I mean, you
But
got to look at it too in the grand scheme of things. There are some toys that are just still not being made, so that's where people need to stop tripping. Like, there aren't toys geared towards boys being fathers. You know what I mean? You don't see baby dolls made for little boys, and you don't see GI Joe type action figures geared towards little girls.
yeah, because there are toys that we know that boys are tend to be more interested in, and girls tend to be more interested in. Like, someone was telling me that they knew a little boy and little girl, like, they had the kitchen set, because this is not new.
Mm-hmm.
These kitchen sets are not new. So we could, I mean, if you want to talk about, if we're going to talk about agendas and things of that nature, this is not a new thing. The thing is, in those situations where the boys might mess with the kitchen set, they still have their GI Joes and their tool sets and their Tonka trucks, and the girls still have their Barbie dolls and Malibu Barbie and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was always, see, when I was a kid, I'll keep it real, right? I used to, until it's because GI Joe, like what we grew up in the 80s with the Cobra Command vehicles and stuff like that. That stuff came like later, after like all this Barbie stuff, and Barbie has always been a big thing for girls. Girls could go and get the Malibu Barbie house and the car and this and that. And I always felt like, yo, they making better stuff for these girls than they making for us. We, it wasn't that much we
No,
had. We had our little guns and stuff, and you know, remember the big GI Joe? He was just a stiff GI Joe dog. It's like,
right.
remember the little green army men?
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
if you want to talk about interesting toys, like because the difference between toys meant for boys and toys meant for girls is boys' toys always provoke the imagination, whereas girls' toys had a little bit more engineering behind them to provoke purpose. Like think about like the easy bake oven. You could actually make real food with that thing.
yeah, yeah. I remember
Boys
that.
they never had nothing on that level to where you
No.
could actually create something real.
So then you had Legos. Now remember Legos where you could build, right? And Legos were for whoever, right? Girls could have
Mhm.
Legos and boys could have Legos. But of course, by and large, I imagine more boys rocked with Legos than girls. And there's never, I mean, we got girls in the Boy Scouts. We got girls in the boys club, boys and girls club. It just kills me that, we make a world that is, flexible for women, right? You could, if you're a girl, you can stay in your girl space or you can invade men's spaces and learn men's things, and it's never a problem, right? It's never a problem. But when boys decide that they want to fill the gaps, so to speak, not necessarily rock with the girly girl stuff, but fill the gaps. Because if girls are not going to cook, there's a gap. All we complain about, all these dudes are on the internet and everywhere else complain, oh, I can't find a woman to cook. These girls don't know how to cook. Oh, they refuse to cook. They refuse to clean. They refuse to do this. They refuse to do that. Well, if that's the case, right? Since we can't make them, right? These aren't our children. These are other people's children. And they're raising, useless motherfuckers for the next generation. So you got to create or raise your own child, men and women, your boys and your girls, to be able to survive in a reality where relationships, we're not trading services anymore. Women aren't offering themselves as domestics, and as time goes by, men are not offering themselves up as provisionaries. We're not offering ourselves up as protection. So we are in a present reality where we teach girls, because these men aren't providing provision, or or better yet, not that they have an issue with it, but you've relinquished your role as a domestic. So their role as a provider is being pulled away. We got to do the same thing for boys. We got to teach them how to keep house. And if you guys think that's gay or feminine or anything like that, then don't complain, because I was just watching a Fresh and Fit video with girls complaining that they shouldn't have to clean a man's house. And when they come to his house, if there's stuff on the floor, it's nasty and this and that. And then I got clowns on Facebook talking about, oh, if a man goes to get a manicure, that's a red flag. And it seems like people want the outcomes of things without process. So how do you survive as a man not knowing how to wash clothes? That you separate your whites from your dark clothes and you use bleach on one and not the other, or fabric softener or ammonia or anything like that, because your mama did it until you was 20 something, and now that you're a single man, you either need your woman to do it, or you got to go home and still have your mama washing your clothes and drying them and cooking for you in your 20s and 30s. And then when you get married or you get a woman, you at the mercy of this person, because you don't know how to do what they do. So when do kids learn this? You got to introduce it to them early, right? Early enough so that they're comfortable with the idea. and you can't have your 4-year-old standing in front of your stove playing with fire. So no, that doesn't work, right? So you give them these kitchen sets, just like you give them anything else. You say, okay, you show them wash dishes. They got to know how to wash dishes. I don't know about anybody else, man, but I've been to dudes' houses where dishes are being a dish rack, allegedly clean.
Mhm.
Allegedly, you ever go to somebody's crib and their clean dishes are greasy?
Honestly, it's like I've been to females' houses that are like that, but they would be threatened when they would see the way I live and be kind of offended that my place is put together. I had this one woman tell me, this was a long time ago. I couldn't believe what I heard. She said, "Your place needs to look like it's lived in." And I was like, "What do you mean?" She was like, "Well, it's always clean and it don't look like anybody live here." And then, when I compared it to her place, it's like the way she was living, it was almost like she was always in a sense of urgency. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I've been told. I told a female told me. She said, you come across as if you don't need women, right?
Hmm.
And women, they want to be needed, right? So when they bump into a guy that he's a clean cut, like they say, oh, manicures, because manicures are for women. You ain't got to go get French tips, right? But they don't like dirty nails. They don't like your hands to look crazy. So they don't want you to have dirty nails or long jagged nails, but you can't go get the manicure because then you're feminine or your sexuality is in question.
That's just too clean.
Yeah, or do you got dudes, and pardon me for saying it, audience, right? You got dudes and women who feel like probably cleaning your ass is gay.
What?
That's how they feel.
Mm.
I need some more comments in here, man. I know y'all watching, man. I want some comments, man. I want to read some comments, man.
It might be the case. I don't know. I mean, I've seen women that be with dudes that be having like pinky nails longer than theirs.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, man. You got girls that like it. Don't get it twisted. But what I'm saying is, there's this idea of like, yo, you got to be this raggedy, dirty, unkempt dude until some woman reforms you. All right. Or, you got to be this guy that don't know his way around, his own house so that the girl can come cook for you. Right. And
Mm.
of course, all of this is, on good behavior. So you don't eat unless she's happy with you. You don't fuck unless she's happy with you. All of these things come and go with her. Right. Now, if you
Sorry
getting
about
money,
competition.
if you getting money, you can hire you a maid, you can hire you a cook, housekeeper, whatever. That's cool. But for all the men, which is most of us, most men don't have any of those things. So we only have these things as a result of being in a relationship. And that's a trap. That's a trap. I was talking to somebody. Matter of fact, I forget who it was. I was driving that truck from the East Coast to the West Coast, and I was talking to somebody who said that they were being paid to teach a woman how to cook. Like, I forgot who it was. It was a friend of mine too. I forgot who it was, but they were hired. Like a male friend of hers hired her to teach his would be girlfriend or would be wife how to cook because she couldn't
Damn,
cook. Couldn't cook.
that's sad.
It's real though. Look, not everybody's going to be great at everything, but you're better when you start early. And this kid, right? This kid right here in this picture, he got a bright future.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, he would be a benefit to any female he eventually ends up with. He doesn't necessarily have to cook all the meals, but at least he knows how. At least he's not, stigma, like in his mind, being in the kitchen isn't he's not stigmatized by his gender in the kitchen. And I
I mean,
tell all the guys in the audience, man,
skill.
don't be. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I see, because cooking is a basic skill. I mean, nobody's saying you got to be like a Gordon Ramsay or anything like that. But I mean, there's women out there. It's like you stick a pot in their hand and they drop it like you just handed them a hot coal or something because they don't know what to do with it.
And for the same reason that this is being chastised, they refuse to do it because it assumes gender role. It assumes gender responsibility. So the problem with that is it's an irony that where you say, well, women don't want to do it because they're eliminating their gender role because it feels oppressive. I'm bigger than that. I'm bigger than being a domestic. But then you say that is not for men either. So then who cooks? If the women ain't gonna do it and the men are too masculine, because cooking is not masculine. All right. If being feminine is weak, right, and things associated with being feminine is weak, so the women reject it, and it's too feminine for masculine men to do, then who does it?
Mm-hmm.
These are standards. This is not reality. And people want to live standards. Standards are not real. People want to live standards. You can't hold people up to standards or ideals. Standards and ideals are not reality.
They used to be. I mean, because those used to be things to aim for, benchmarks. I mean, it's in the word standard that this is level one of proficiency that you have to be able to achieve for whatever reason. And now that people feel like standards are oppressive, it just makes a weak society.
Well, the thing is, gender roles used to be complementary,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you had complementary roles where one person was in the home and one person went out and got the money.
Mm-hmm.
What I just said, I didn't imply gender. We know what genders it was back then, but you know, if you got one person walking away from their station, that station goes unmanned, right? Or unwomaned, if you want to say it that way. Like,
Right.
you know, if there's two roles, somebody has to fill that role. Somebody has to fill that void. And sometimes you might got to do it yourself.
Yeah, it's just that somewhere along the way, when it came to this, idea of an oppressive patriarchy, some women got it in their heads thinking that the responsibilities of men is something that's fun. It's not. It's like,
Well,
okay, it could be impressive to think, oh, I can do this too, but yeah, do it into perpetuity until you die and see how great it is.
listen, check this out. Check this out. For them, only the benefits are fun, right? It's
Mm.
like, wants to call me. I'll call you right back. It's like, check this out. There are benefits to being a woman. We know what they are. Getting off light with the police or any law broken or anything like that. You can go to the club, get in the club free if you're early enough.
Mhm.
Get your free drink, you get a free meal, from guys you ain't attracted to. I was joking around with some people. You got guys sending random women cash apps and things like that, just sending them cash apps.
Mm.
They don't know these women. Hey, let me cash app you. You go on Clubhouse, you're in a clubhouse, you're in a chat full of women, and guys are like, "Ooh, you look good. Let me hook you up. Let me hit your cash app." These are not women that they want to meet, trying to get to or whatever. And these women is just laid back, just taking all this. these gifts and these benefits and things like that. Well, I wouldn't mind reaping those benefits, but I know what comes with them, is not necessarily what I would trade for, because there's downsides of being women. Nobody's gonna deny that, your menstrual cycle and other things that come with being women. If you're gonna say, well, you want to be a woman, but you don't want to deal with none of those things, then guess who you sound like?
Hmm.
Caitlyn Jenner.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? And then J.K. Rowling and Dave Chappelle have a point. You know, it's like you want to be able to join a group without dealing with any of the downsides of said group. Nah, this man shit is hard, man. If you want to be one of us, you got to take all the lumps associated. If you want to be a woman, okay, you could get the benefits, but you got to take all the lumps associated,
Mhm.
right? Is ups and downs to everything. We all have, privileges, and we all have responsibilities and accountability that we're supposed to be dealing with. But at the end of the day, listen, you know, if if nobody's gonna cook or clean for me, I gotta know how to do it myself, right? If you're not gonna teach these women how to do it because you don't want to put your woman in your girl, your little daughter in a position to have to need a man, you ain't gonna teach her how to serve a man, then you got to teach men to serve themselves.
Mm.
I wonder what these girls that don't know how to cook, how do they eat? How do they eat?
Well, I know exactly how they eat. I mean, look at the obesity rate. There you go.
Facts. Yeah, this is facts.
I mean, there was a point in time where young women were taught how to be wives before they were wives because there was it was understood how beneficial it was for a woman to have these skills to get a man. You know what I mean? It ensured their survival until the other end of life. And it also played a part with their overall wellness and happiness throughout life. Now we got this thing to where we're teaching young girls that they shouldn't have to need a man, and in turn, it's making their lives exponentially harder, and their overall level of happiness is in the toilet.
So, this ain't gonna be an extra long live, right? Because I just wanted to touch this topic, but check this out, right? With this matriarchal black culture where we get our women ready for the world, and we handicap our boys to needing women and to being trapped into serving women, because that's what we're doing the opposite for women. We're teaching them to not have to serve men, right? We're teaching men that they have to serve women, and we're leaving out the part where men learn how to take care of themselves, right? And we're not emancipating the men. So I'm gonna say this: any woman that has an issue with this, right? For any woman that has an issue with this, right? If you don't want boys in the kitchen or any other space that you don't think should be occupied by you, then get the fuck out of our spaces. Stop taking our jobs that, because the economy is finite. There's a limited amount of jobs and a limited amount of money in the economy, right? Get the fuck out of corporate America and stop taking jobs that we need to support families, because what women do is they get these jobs and they don't support families. They support themselves or themselves and their kids, but they don't build communities when they get these positions. They don't return, the income that they get from these jobs. They don't return it back in a major way. That's what men do, and that's what men have done historically.
And they
You
don't
know,
feel
we
like they need to do that either, which is the trippy
well,
thing.
well, nobody holds them to it, because this is a society that says women can choose to or not choose to do what they want to do. They don't have to do one thing or the other, while we say men's position remains rigid. And then we shame them out of being able to do things or learning how to do things that the women won't do for them. All right. If this was a pink kitchen set, I would feel you. But that's not what it is. That's not what I'm looking at. I'm not even looking at a boy dressed like a little girl. Right? Little man looked like he in his studio apartment hooking some shit up. He like, yeah, he about to hook it up, y'all. How many times y'all been to a barbecue? Dude wearing an apron to say kiss the cook or some shit like that. That's what that looked like to me.
Right.
My man looked like a bachelor, you know what I'm saying? He about to hook up a burger, hook up some steak, hook some shit up. And he learned how to do it now. And when he's 20, he'll probably be in shape, six pack and the whole shit, and won't need no chick to cook him no shit, and won't have to go to McDonald's or Burger King because she ain't there or she refuses to do it. This is what you want, ladies. You want a man that, that's been taught this thing from early on. So you can do for him what he knows how to do, but when you meet him, you don't have to dig through garbage when you first come to his house. This is not something you want your man to know how to do these things. This is not bad. And for men who have an issue with this, you're cutting your nose to spite your face. You putting yourself at a disadvantage because you want to be macho. That's why motherfuckers are having strokes and everything else, because they don't know what the inside of a kitchen looks like, or they learn too late, and they already have attached it to a gender role. If we're gonna remove gender roles for women, we got to remove them for men too, especially when these individuals are single. You can't emancipate women and not emancipate men. And I'm speaking especially to the black demographic, because when I look at this shit right here, it looks to me as other folks ain't got an issue with this. When I go to Benihana, I've never had a female chef doing my hibachi. I don't see women flipping the steaks in Benihana. Chinese restaurant is usually dudes in the back. And like it was mentioned already before, you got the Gordon Ramsays and the like, you know, that throw it down. Black men, get over yourself with this type of shit. Learn how to use a broom, a mop, Brillo pad, you know? Learn what a clean dish feels like. It's not greasy. Learn what a clean glass looks like. Learn to do windows. Learn to do all of that shit. This is life shit. Life. It's shit that I know how to do, and I don't give a fuck what you call me. What you won't call me is in need of a woman to do this. I want your last thoughts on this, bro, and then we gonna roll up on out of here. That's if he's there. Shane, you there? But we got to get out of this matriarchal black culture. Embrace some autonomy, fellas. Even in the domestic area, embrace some autonomy. Embrace being free. They don't need you. You shouldn't need them either. What's going on, Lionel? Good to see you back. Good to see you back, man. Gotta be emancipated in the same way. Don't let them shame you into thinking, oh, this is feminine. It's feminine to take care of yourself, or it's feminine to fill the holes that they left with feminism. This ain't about them. This is about you, fellas. You understand what I'm saying? So don't be afraid to not only teach little man all the things that he needs to know to be a man, but also teach him all the things he needs to know to be an adult. An adult, man. This is adulting. This is adulting you're looking at. Because men and women are adults. Cooking is an adult thing. It's not a man thing. It's not a woman thing. It's an adult thing. This is adult thing. And the sooner, the better. And I call him little man because he's a little man. He'd be a big man. And what he's doing right there, he's going to excel at when he's an adult. There's nothing feminine about this photo. Get it out of your head. All right. Thanks for joining me, Shane. Shout out to everybody in the chat. And shout out to everybody to check this out. If you missed it, hit up the comments later. Shane, you there?
Yeah.
Give me one last thought before we go.
Everybody should learn to cook and cook well. It's the worst thing in the world to go over somebody's house. They claim they want to cook for you, and you eat their stuff, and then your guts is jacked up.
Yeah, this is adult thing. Paying bills is adult shit. Cooking is adult shit. Cleaning is adult shit. Now, when you get together, you decide who does what. But while you're single, you need to know how to do all of this shit so you ain't at a loss.
Every time I've seen a kung fu movie, you know who was cooking? It wasn't a woman.
Oh man. All right, man. Thanks for jumping on, bro. And as always, 100.
Peace.
Peace.